It's the Football Prophets.
Family? Well, I said the whole thing in football. I usually say FB family, but I think I'm on the road today. We're gonna keep that in. Welcome to a new episode of Football Prophets, where two friends talk all things American soccer. I'm your host, Micael, and I'm here with Coach David Johnson. He's still a good friend. Coach David, how you doing, my guy?
I'm doing well, Micael. I'm a little tired. There's a lot of soccer this weekend. Look, my eyeballs are like burning red right now from just staying open for hours on hours on hours, but it's worth it.
Yeah. It's funny. Yesterday I was like, when I texted you, I'm like, hey, let's push the recording. It's funny to me how like sometimes we're both tired at the same time and we're just waiting for that one person to kind of be like, hey, can we do this tomorrow? And then make it work.
It's really rough hitting like a midnight record time after you've just watched like 6 hours of soccer.
The light of TV just hitting your eye.
Right. Like, wow, it is rough. And you gotta wake up in the morning. It's rough.
All right. Well, talk about some rough. Houston. I mean, I wouldn't really call this rough, but it felt like a good segue. But the loss, I think the loss is rough. But again, it's Houston. Seattle's good. Is it rough for them? You think it's rough for them that they lost to Seattle?
I don't think losing to Seattle in and of itself is rough.
Yeah.
For Houston. I think it's the way in which they lost to Seattle. So this is their second time playing Seattle this season. It's their second 1-0 loss to Seattle this season. They've lost both home and away now.
Yeah.
Both times, Seattle hasn't gotten their goal until Houston decided to go and get a red card. The first game, which was earlier this season in Houston, I believe, they got 2 red cards. And then in like the 88th minute, something like that, Seattle got the 1 goal, right? After being up 2 men. This game, Micael decides he's going to get 2 yellow cards in 1 minute. Like literally 30 seconds apart from each other, he gets 2 different yellow cards.
Why
like
not?
He fouls a player, gets a yellow card. The play is stopped. Seattle plays the ball down the line, and he fouls a player again. Like the very next play after his yellow card, he gets a second yellow.
Just for
it was fun. Insane. and then like 2 seconds after that, João Paulo for Seattle makes a really hard tackle that he barely times right. I mean, like a millisecond late, and it's a red card for him. And you just got the Houston sideline up, and it's right in front of the Houston bench, and they're all up on their feet screaming, getting you mad. The head coach and one of the assistant coaches both get yellow cards in that process. Like, it was a hectic 67 seconds or so in Seattle. Like, it was wild for literally just over a minute.
So I think it was rough then. I think my side.
I would say it was rough. I would say that was rough. And then like maybe 5-10 minutes after that, I don't have it up, but fairly quick after the red card, Seattle gets their 1 goal. And that's it. That's game.
Yeah. Well, I feel bad for them. It was rough. Well, let's move on to another rough. I think this is a rough place, though. I'm just going to keep using rough. By Kansas City. At least it's not snowing. When it snows, very rough city. So it looks like Kansas City and Minnesota in a red hot form for playoff. Did you really think that we were going to say that about Kansas City at some point this season?
No, I did not. And then, so here's the thing. Both Kansas City and Minnesota currently sit just outside the playoffs. I think they both sit at 10 and 11.
Yeah.
Right? Kansas City have earned 21 points from their last 13 games.
And
so in their last 13 games, mind you, we're about 19-ish games into the season, right? So in their last 13 games, the majority of the season, they have averaged 1.6 points per game. that would have them on a higher pace than Seattle, right? But they're all the way back in like 10th, 11th place.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow in those 5 other games that they've had in the season, they were at like almost negative points per game. It was horrible. And then once it clicked, right, they have been at a home playoff level pace consistently for the last, like I said, 13 games, right? That's incredible. And it's all kind of around Pulido. When he got back into the lineup, things started scoring, right? Things started flowing for them. And Minnesota is very similar to that, just at a much smaller sample size. The stat I pulled out here was that in their last 2 games, Minnesota has scored 6 goals. So that's 3 goals a game on average, right? Those last 2 games are the only 2 games that Reynoso has started.
Yeah.
Right? Because as you remember, Reynoso just decided he was going to be a Reno show and wasn't even in the continent.
You know,
this was not in North America. He was in a different hemisphere.
I just think of the ego that man has right now.
He's feeling himself. We all know he is an elite player in this league when he is in this league is the thing. But so 6 goals in their last 2 games, right? Just to put that into perspective, they only scored 15 goals in their first 17 games. So 17 games of the 19 games they played this season without Reynoso, they scored less than a goal per game. Reynoso comes in and they start scoring 3 goals a game. Difference maker, right? And I think the question here is, okay, he didn't get to play the first 17 games of this season, but if he continues this for the second half of the season, does well in Leagues Cup, right? Which I believe they play the Sounders in Leagues Cup. Maybe not. No, that's Sporting that plays the Sounders. But if he continues well in Leagues Cup, he continues well for the second half of the season, gets them into a, let's call it comfortable-ish playoff picture, not 8th or 9th, right? Like say 6th, 7th, not having to do a play-in round game. Could he be in argument for league MVP?
No.
You don't think he could make top 5?
I think this should just be this many show out for the half of the season, bro.
He didn't, but like, this is our whole argument about when we were yelling at each other, screaming about each other about if you take out Acosta, how good is this Cincinnati side? If you take out if you take out Mukhtar, how good is this Nashville side? We have seen how horrible Minnesota is without. Yeah. We have seen this, and now they're this good. This is every argument, like hypothetical argument we have made about the MVP race, and this man is just now.
He's just doing it. He's just doing
right.
It's like before and after picture. It's like
literally, this could end up being the first half of the season without him. They were the worst team in MLS,
and then the second
half of the season with him, magically now they are the best team,
about to win a playoff game.
For me, if they get into that 6th, 7th playoff spot, they stay at this like
top
1
5.
or not the 1%, but they stay. He has to be. He has to be in the conversation.
He's gonna.
I don't think he'll win it, but he has to be in the conversation.
You got to bring up the name at least. Like, got to bring up the name. That's crazy to think about, though. That's how
doing this right now.
Players are.
And he's doing this from a creative, like, playmaker position.
Yeah.
Without a real good goal scorer. And they're about to get a real good goal scorer, and we'll talk about that in a different part. Yeah. So
I was
stay tuned.
I was gonna say that they're almost in the same situation. He's almost in the same situation as Hani Mukhtar, but I forgot they haven't signed in a couple weeks ago. Was it 3-4 weeks ago?
I think it officially penned on paper about a week ago. He will not come in until later on this month.
The MESSI news kind of overshadowed this news, right?
It did, but this is probably going to be a more impactful signing as far as the playoff picture is concerned.
Yeah, you said,
and I go into math later on. I believe in part 2, We'll go into math on why I don't think for this season Messi is going to be all that important as far as league standings are concerned. But this signing that we'll get into in part 2 for Minnesota, I think is absolutely massive.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate that. All right, cool. So let's keep moving on here. So Cincinnati, man. Cincinnati finally not. I mean, they're still technically undefeated at home, right? Because
they are.
Yeah.
And so they up until this game in MLS at home, they have been perfect.
Yeah.
10 games, 10 wins, right? You can't ask for much better than that. Now they go and they are missing Brandon Vasquez. They're missing Mosquera. They're missing Matt Miazga, all because of international call-ups, right? And I think Mosquera was on a suspension. So they're missing some very key players there, and they go to play New England. Well, New England comes to play them. New England is the second best team in the East, which happens to be the second best team in the league, right? You have the two best teams on points per game facing each other in Cincinnati at TQL Stadium, which is the hardest place to play in this league, right? And if you are New England, this is when you want to play Cincinnati, right? You want to play them when they're weak. You don't want to play them when they have their best goal scorers.
Yeah.
Right? But the impressive thing here is it was a 2-2 tie. Dominic Badji, who, unless you are a fanatic of this league or a Cincinnati fan, you do not know the name, right? He was a nobody, I think, in Colorado, didn't really do much. He kind of bounced around a bit, been in the league for a while, but never been a star, right? He scores 3 goals this game. One of them happens to be an own goal, but he scores 3 goals, right? That he finds the back of the net twice for his team, and that's when he should be coming into the season, probably their 4th string striker, right? Like he'd probably be definitely behind where Vasquez was expected to be. He's definitely behind what they expected for Brenner. I would say he's probably behind where they expected him to be with Santos.
Yeah.
So you have your 4th string goal scorer come into this team, and he scores 3 goals against. Well, he scores 2 goals that count against the second best team in the league.
They don't count own goals toward against you can be like, yeah, I've scored 5 goals. They don't count own goals.
No, they do not count towards your goal total. Anything it should count as a negative. No, the goal is not a goal. It matters which goal you score on.
It literally says goals. Like a goal is a goal.
It says own goal. It's a different thing. It's a different thing entirely.
Throw it in his own category.
So I just thought that as much as we talk about Cincinnati and some of the big signings they've made to improve themselves, Dom Badji was not one of those big signings. And that you can get this guy to all of a sudden step up and, okay, yes, he got an own goal, and that ultimately been the reason why you walked away with 1 point instead of 3. But for him to also put 2 goals in the back of the net against one of the best teams in this league, when you are missing your star players, your 2 biggest signing forwards, and Dom Badji's the guy that steps up, that to me shows so much of how this system is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it is not the individual players, it's
positions.
The team as a whole is the MVP here, right? Like, you had Yuya Kubo playing striker. He's a midfielder. He was up top with Badji this game, looking really good, right? Like, Yuya Kubo, before Noonan came in, looked like trash for his first 2 seasons in this league, right? Now you have him playing out of position, and he looks really, really good. You have him paired up top with a 3rd, 4th string player, and they both look really, really good, right? You have a right back playing center back, and he looks really, really good. Not just a right back playing center back, a right back who 2 years ago retired. Pat Noonan comes to the team and is like, hey, my old teammate, you want to come out of retirement and play for me? And he's like, sure, why not? So now you have a formerly retired right back playing center back, and he's looking good. right? Like all of these things, if it happens under any other coach's stewardship, is going to be a train wreck, like a hot garbage fire, right?
Coach
But
of the year.
in Cincinnati, it works.
Coach of the year.
Yeah, there's no other way around it, right? Like
Coach of the year.
it's not about the players, individual players, which they have some phenomenal individual players, right? Acosta is one of them. Mosquera is another one. Vasquez is another one. But what they can do as a unit in this team is scary, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like really, really scary.
I think you was trying to kill my what am I trying to say? You're trying to kill my
Your argument about Acosta being MVP?
Yeah, that's what you're trying to do.
I'm a man of many agendas.
But no, coach of the year, man. Hands down, coach of the year. So what is going on in LA, bro? I thought LAFC was better than us, but it seems like we contaminated the water in LA or something, man. They don't look so good no more.
So LAFC are doing something really weird, right? When they were playing two different competitions at the same time at high stakes, MLS and Concacaf Champions League, they were flying, right? And US Open Cup. So they were playing three competitions and they were looking so good in all three for the most part. And then they lose the Concacaf Champions League. They return back to only having to play in the MLS. So now you're going from playing three different competitions, averaging a game every 4 days. Every 4 days they had to play a game, right? Now you're only playing once a week. You're rested, you're feeling good. And now they can't buy a win. Like their last 7 games, they have gotten 7 points. They've had 2 wins, 4 losses, and a draw, right? This is a team that was practically perfect for the first 12, 13 games of the season while they were playing 2 other competitions, right? They were flying when they had 0 rest. Now that they have the rest, they don't have to push themselves physically. They're falling apart. And the only thing that can be contributed to that is their mentality, right? Like losing the Open Cup right next to losing in CONCACAF Champions League final killed them. And I don't think they have that killer edge anymore. Denny Bwanga isn't scoring at a great rate anymore. He was scoring pretty much every single game he played in. Then he went 6 games without a goal, right? Although he did score in their last game, I believe. But or 2 games ago, something like that. But
Yeah.
he's not looking good. Vela's not looking good. No one on this team is looking good anymore when literally 6 weeks ago we were talking about them being one of the best teams we've ever seen in MLS. Like they went from killer mentality to just possum in the road playing dead.
You think
Like it is rough in LA right
you
now.
think that's what got them? Just the fact that they lost like so close, and then they're just kind of like bummed out or something.
I think so. I mean, can you imagine
This is
being
professional.
knocked out of? But can you imagine being knocked out of
Live.
2 different tournaments in the same week?
So
That's tough. That's tough.
so
That's tough. But
so
like you said, this is professional, right?
yes.
So
Bro,
every other person they're playing is professional. So those little mental margins matter because every other team they're playing now is very, very good,
But
have a good mentality.
The coach now got to figure this out. We should have figured this out 3 games in, 4 games.
Well, okay, that's the other thing.
No,
Steve Cherundolo, before last year, who was he? Oh, he was the head coach at a 2nd division team. Who was he like 3 years before that?
Yeah.
He wasn't a coach,
Okay.
right? Like he is a brand new coach. He has never had to experience rough times, right? He gets his first MLS coaching job and he wins
This
everything,
happens in the middle of it.
right? He wins everything.
And then after
And now this season, he hits a big speed bump. He's never had to have to navigate a team through these rough times before. He's never had to do that.
You're right.
Yeah. So
But
he is
still, man, that's like
more inexperienced than like,
that's like high school coach. Like everybody, like I know that. You know that. Everybody else watching know that. Go get.
I'll tell you what. I don't know how to motivate. I do not know how to motivate a player like Carlos Vela.
You in second year though. That's your second year with your team. At this point, you should know. So that will let me know that maybe the coach is not doing as great job. Because if it's your second year going in with a team, you should know what makes them tick. Because you've seen them win. You've seen them, like, you've rode the wave with them. So it's a matter of how do we replicate that feeling that you were feeling last year, or they were feeling like. Just focus. Don't try to focus on navigate. Just, okay, what were we doing then? How were we talking? How were we moving? How was practice being held? What song were we playing? What was I saying? How were they reacting to me? Am I still getting? Bro, you're a professional coach.
I hear that,
bro.
But it's hard when you have no experience on getting a team through rough times. Like, when you've never experienced down, you don't know how to get out of that. Like, this is his learning experience, right? If he can get them through this, then he'll be great going forward. If he can't, if, like, for whatever reason they end up firing him, I don't know how he's ever going to bounce back as a coach, because he'll never have been able to navigate through a tough time, right? Like, this is his proving ground, right? That he needs to take this time and learn how to steer the ship right for a good team, right? He's never had to do that before. This is his learning period. This is his proving ground. This is where he can essentially decide the fate of his coaching career. Because if he gets through this, and now all of a sudden LAFC continue on and can stay in a home playoff picture, he's done everything you want from a coach, right? And he is still on a progress towards coaching in Europe, right? But if he can't get this team out of a slump, I don't know who would hire him. I wouldn't hire him. Right? Like, this is make or break for Steve Cherundolo's career.
Okay, what do you think he does? What do you think he pulls out of it?
I think, to an extent, I honestly don't know how great they'll be, lethal they'll be, but I do think they're still going to be a high playoff seed team. They just have too much talent. Yeah. So I think maybe a week or two more, I think he gets them out of it. I just don't know if we ever see them looking like they did early.
You know what I'm doing though, man? I'm going to my good players. I'm sitting them down and I'm saying, hey, I'm going to tell you, man, like, I'm going to have a coming Jesus moment with them. I'll really tell them, hey, I've seen you guys do this, man. And I'm on the year because you guys showed me that it's possible. I need something out of you. I let talent carry over just a little bit and see what happens. But hey, he'll handle that. But in Miami, they're about to get a lot of talent with a lot of winless streak going on, man. They can't seem to win. Joseph can't, I guess. I thought he was injured at some point, right? Is he back?
No, he's still healthy. He's actually their leading goal scorer. He's just got like 3 goals this season. It's rough.
3 goals, leading scorer. Woo!
Let me. It's kind of late here. It's kind of late here. Are you ready to go to math class real quick? Because I got some stats to break down.
Let me grab my notepad and my pen real quick. All right. I'm ready, sir.
All right. So Miami's last win was May 13th.
Yeah.
Like almost 2 months ago. Rough. Since that last win, they've played 7 games. They have lost 6 and tied 1. So gone 1 point from their last 7 games in MLS, right? Now, that sits them at the bottom of the table. Worst team in the East, right? Historically, if you're looking at 9th place, an average of 43 points at the end of the season gets you 9th place. Over the course of the last 4 years, right? 43 points gets you there. Now, DC United are currently the team in 9th place in the Eastern Conference, and they are coincidentally on pace right now for 42 points.
Coach,
right?
You got all them numbers.
On pace for 42 points. So 43 points could potentially get them there, right? So now let's look at how Miami gets to 43 points this season, right? They have to play 3 more games before the Leagues Cup break happens. In that Leagues Cup break, that's when Messi is expected to come. Messi and friends, right? So 3 more games until Messi gets integrated into the squad and can start playing MLS games, right? Those 3 games are against Columbus Crew, decent team, DC United, decent team, and St. Louis, great team.
They might also lose to all these teams.
So I looked through this and I said,
yeah,
at best, I would feel comfortable saying they get 1 point.
I wouldn't.
Right?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah,
If they get that 1 point, in those 3 games, they would have to get 26 more points in their last 12 games of the season with Messi and friends, right? How do you get 26 points? That's 8 wins and 2 ties out of your last 12 games. So the question here is, do you think Messi and Busquets and Jordi Alba, whoever they might bring in, do you think they can immediately turn this team that hasn't won a game since May into an 8-2-2 team, arguably the best team in the league?
Man, they okay, let me say this. I actually think they may 8 wins. I was gonna say 10 wins. I'm like, that's a lot of wins. Maybe I shouldn't be so crazy. But if there is someone who can do it, it's gotta be the greatest of all time, man. The greatest of all time. If there's somebody, if there is a human being that could do it, it is just that person to bring it in.
So,
and he's not coming alone. He's coming with a master of the midfield. And he's coming with a great attacking back. Like, Jordi Alba can still run faster than a lot of the players in the MLS. Like, Jordi Alba was just, in Spain, he was just dying. But Jordi Alba can still give business in the MLS. Like, let's be real. Busquets gonna reinvent that midfield, bro. Like, with his poise. And then Messi's gonna look to pass first, especially when it comes to teams. And Joseph just got to put it away. And I
agree with you there.
And then think about how Messi and what's the other guy's name? Oh, is Pizarro still injured? Is he back?
He's back. It's a question of, to get Busquets and Jordi Alba, they're going to have to make cap space. So it's a question of who they get rid of. Campagna might go, who has been kind of Joseph's backup. Pizarro might go. Like, they are going to have to get rid of one or two pretty good players.
Pizarro in there with Messi and Busquets.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a scenario where you see both Messi and Pizarro on the field, because I think Messi will be playing the free rolling 10 role.
Yeah.
And so here's my big issue with this. All right, I hear everything you're saying.
But do you agree that if there's someone who could do it, it's just the guy they're bringing in?
It is.
You guys scored 90. What was it? 90 goals in one season?
Something like that. It was a little over 90. I think like 91, 92. Something like that. It was something ridiculous.
That's the guy to bring it in.
But here's my one issue with this, and where I see it not happening. Miami have one of the worst defenses in the league. Is Messi going to play defense?
Jordi Alba.
Jordi Alba, in his prime, was known for an attacking fullback, not a defensive fullback. Now, is he going to be better than, say, DeAndre Yedlin? Potentially, probably. But how much better purely defensively is he going to be there? It's not going to be night and day. He's not all of a sudden going to come in and they're going to be the best defense there, right? Because he's playing outside. It's not through the middle. Right?
Yeah.
Your center backs matter. Now you're talking about a holding midfielder, a defensive midfielder in Busquets. Busquets in his prime in that 2011 Barcelona setup was not a fast ground covering midfielder.
He's not. He's never been.
And now he is your one player in midfield, because Messi's not going to be in midfield anymore, right? Like he'll be in midfield, but he's not tracking back defending. Busquets is going to have to put out a lot of fires in transition play. He's incredible, but he is not that type of defensive mid.
That's
right. So your two center backs are still going to be under a lot of pressure, and you are still going to be one of the worst teams defensively in MLS, right? Because none of those guys changed that drastically, right? Through the middle of the spine. So now the question is, how many more goals can this get you compared to how many goals you're going to allow every game?
But
right?
I feel like
But that's not how... By outscoring your opponents is not how you get 8-2 and 2.
That's not, yeah. That's
to go 8-2 and 2, you need a good defense, because there's going to be a day where Messi doesn't score 5, right? Sure. You need a lockdown defense if you're going to go 8-2 and 2. Now they could go 6 and like 4 and 2. I could see that happening with just an all-out attack, just be better than everyone on the attack and just hope your defense does something. Right? Yeah. Anything. But to flip the season like this, you are going to have a stellar defensive record. And nothing about these 3 players makes me think they're going to have a stellar defensive record. I think we will see more from Jordi Alba on the attack than we will on the defense. I think all the highlights we're going to see from Busquets is going to be his line-breaking passes up to Messi or out to a winger. And it's not going to be open field ground coverage type of plays. So I don't think any of the highlights we're going to see from these 3 players are going to be the big defensive highlights. They're all going to be attacking highlights, right?
Mm-hmm.
That worries me when you have to be absolutely perfect for the end of the season. That's my one fear here. And that's why you cannot have Pizarro in this lineup. Because Pizarro is not a defensive player.
Not attacking.
Right? And now they do have a couple good ground covering center mids, but they're injured. So
you think
this is going to be a
good move for next year, not for this year?
I think next season we will see the Miami be one of the best teams. 2024 is where we judge Messi and friends. And
how long
this year?
Yeah. How long till Messi gets MVP, you think?
He'll be in the race next year.
Next year. Hey, if Reynoso getting in now, Messi just might be like, hey, I'm here.
I feel it, but at the same time, he's not coming into, like, Reynoso is coming into what was a really good defensive team.
Yeah.
Right? Like Minnesota were getting ties everywhere because their defense was solid. They just weren't able to score goals. Messi's coming into a team that wasn't able to score goals and wasn't able to stop goals, right? Like it's not going to be
solving one problem, basically.
Yeah, it's not going to be as smooth of a transition for Messi as it was for Reynoso, because other than Reynoso, the other 10 players on that team were really solid.
Yeah.
Other than Messi, the other 10 players on that team are a nightmare, right? Like it's going to take time for him to settle in and really make a difference here. So this season, even though, yes, I'm saying Reynoso may be in the conversation and playing nearly as many MLS games as Messi will be, I do not see a scenario where Messi is anywhere near MVP conversation, right? I do see a scenario where somehow he magically gets put into the All-Star game without playing a game and probably only being in the league for like 3 days. But I do see a scenario there. But I do not see a realistic scenario where he can be in the MVP race this season.
All right. Well, okay. So I'm just gonna have us do this. You don't think they're making the playoffs, right?
No.
Okay, I think they're making the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. And I'm gonna say I hope. I'm hoping so, just because it's gonna add so much in Messi's.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I would love to see Messi in playoffs. If Messi gets this team into playoffs, who knows what will happen?
Yeah,
right. They could win the whole thing.
Yeah,
I just don't think they're getting there. I don't think they're getting there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, awesome. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop us here. We're gonna go ahead and get a quick break, and we'll be back for our second part.
It's the football.
Back to our second part of the show where things get a little spicy, man. This is I feel like the second part of the show is usually when you and I get in little arguments, and I think today let's try to be cordial. Okay, so
I don't think anything that we're going to talk about is going to be argumentative here. I don't. If you disagree with me on anything here, I just
say, hey,
don't. I won't validate it. Like there's just no way you can disagree with me on these things. They just seem so cut and dry. So I simply won't validate it. I'll just turn my
opinions.
I'll just do one of these, completely mute you,
take the volume,
and we'll be good to go.
You don't know my opinions about it. I didn't talk to you about it. So all right, let's go and talk about Bob Bradley. Let's see if I disagree with you there. He's out of Toronto. What you got for us?
Yeah, so Bob Bradley has officially been fired in Toronto. Now, he was one of those unique head coach, sporting director roles. Every press release says he's been fired as head coach. I have to assume that also means sporting director, because that would be mental if they fire him in one capacity but keep him on in the other. So I'm assuming he's out entirely in Toronto.
You just out him.
But if you Google Bob Bradley out at Toronto, this is the little blurb you get from the Toronto City News. Bob Bradley has been fired as coach of Toronto FC after the club struggled to collect just 3 wins in 20 league games this season, and finds themselves just 4 points from the bottom of the Eastern Conference.
Sheesh.
Now, I want to dive into that
just
is
not
for a second.
That's like the first thing you see. The first
3 wins out of 20 league games.
Man, is he getting another job after that? Because that's what you get as soon as you type his name, like out of Toronto.
Yeah. Well, if you type in his name and out in Toronto,
is he getting another job?
He will. He might get some obscure national team job, or he'll get another less desirable position in MLS. He'll get something.
Island.
But the thing here is 3 wins in 20 league games. This is a team in Toronto that was built for win now, right? Bringing in Bernadeschi and Insigne and Sean Johnson and Hedges. Like, all of those were not moves for the future, right? That wasn't project moves. That wasn't like, all right, give it 3-4 years and we'll be really good. Those were, this season we're winning a trophy.
Yeah.
3 wins in 20 games.
Isn't my boy Johnson like 36 years old too? So they got like
33, I think.
33.
But
okay.
yeah, he for a goalkeeper, not old, but definitely not young. But the thing here is 3 wins in 20 games. That's abysmal. Horrible, right? I think we can all agree. How in the world were they still 4 points ahead of Miami? 3 wins in 20 games, and the little blurb says just 4 points from the bottom of the Eastern Conference. They were still 4 points above Miami with 3 wins in 20 games.
I heard someone say,
and you think Miami's making the playoffs? Okay.
I heard someone say this. They said, if there's 100 ways to do something wrong, I probably found 101. And I think that's what Miami's doing. They're just like, how can we make this worse for Messi, man? So, but hey, bro, if there's someone who can do it, it's the GOAT.
All right, but just finishing back up with this Bob Bradley news, interim coach Terry Dunfield takes the position, maybe for the year. I don't know what Toronto's doing. They need to bring in someone big to manage the talent they have there. I just don't know what big name manager that both Insigne and Bernadeschi will respect.
Yeah,
that is willing to take this dumpster fire job.
Yeah,
right?
They don't look.
Like, if you ask me who would be perfect for this, if you ask me who would be perfect for this job, I would say Carlo Ancelotti. Now, if you ask me, would Carlo Ancelotti ever come to this job, I would say no, absolutely not. Like,
he gets cold.
For him to take this job, he would have had to switch his medications up, like drinking alcohol with his pills. Like, he would have had to been very, very wrong in the head to ever even
the
consider this.
wrong call. Oh yes, I'm in. And
But literally, other than him,
yeah,
I don't know who. Actually, I don't know why. That
I know
really
a guy. I know a guy. Let me cut a promo. Toronto, if y'all looking for a coach, man, I know a guy. He may not be the shiniest coach available. He may not have the resume. But I'm nominating Coach David, man. Let's go. Let's make this happen.
So your 30-second pitch for me is saying he may not be very good, but he's here.
No, well, but I'll move to Toronto with you. Yeah, man. I'll move to Toronto with you.
Have you ever been to Toronto?
I've never been outside the United States ever since I came here in 2012.
Oh, I was about to call complete cap on that. You saying you never been outside the United States? I was like, hold up.
I was born here. This accent is fake, man. I was born.
Toronto, beautiful city, beautiful, beautiful city. And honestly, they shouldn't have a hard time finding a coach because, like, who wouldn't want to live in Toronto? But at the same time, the level of coach they need
isn't
coming.
They need to. So the interim coach got to lift it up a little bit, man, to make it attractive, man. These coaches who have a say of where to go, they want to go in attractive situation. But let's go ahead and move on away from here. Let's talk about Tata in Miami, man. About with having Messi and Joseph. How do you think that's going to play out? And talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Tata Martino is officially named Miami head coach. Actually, on the weekend, he was in stadium. He wasn't pitch side. He's still having to get his work visas and all that sorted out, but he was in stadium watching the team and watching the interim manager do his thing. And Tata is great, right? Like, when you think of one of the best teams in this league, historically, you think of a team that Tata managed, right? And now everyone is talking about his ties with Messi and how great he will be with Messi in this league, right? Is he coached Messi at Barcelona, he coached Messi at the national team. Now he's going to coach Messi in MLS, right? That's what everyone's focusing on. But I'm telling y'all, you're sleeping on his relationship with Joseph Martinez.
Talk to me.
That is the key here. When Joseph Martinez was in peak form, best striker this league has ever seen, who was his manager? Tata Martino, right? Tata leaves Atlanta, and what do we see happen to Joseph? The man can't kick a ball all of a sudden, right? Like, falls apart.
He has 3 goals, bro.
Right? Now you are bringing in the manager that made Joseph Martinez in this league.
Yeah.
And you are also bringing in one of the best ever creative players in this league to play under Joseph Martinez and Lionel Messi.
A connection with both of them.
Like, this is the best coach appointment you could have possibly hoped for.
Do you think now that everything makes sense? When we were talking about
Neville getting fired, makes sense. Not a shot Neville could ever have managed Messi. I am sorry, that man needs to get far away from the team. Like, not a chance.
Who are you again? You the coach?
Thought he was his brother, Gary. Like, oh, I've seen you on Sky Sports. I love you. No, wrong brother, wrong Neville.
Yeah, wrong brother, bro. All right. Awesome. That was a little funny. All right, let's move on a little bit here. Let's talk about Timo. He's official of Minnesota, man. What's going on?
You want to try to pronounce his last name? Can this be an episode of Can Miche Say?
I thought we were moving away from that. I was trying to hide it. So, Timo Pukki.
Well done.
Let's go.
Miche can say. Well done, Miche.
We need to have a segment on this, man. But let's talk about Timo Pukki, man. What's going on?
You know how boring that segment would be? It would just be you reading a list of names, and I would be like, correct, incorrect, correct.
No, we can
for like 30 minutes straight.
No, we can do like a ding, 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 ding when it's I have like a music
That might be the most painful podcast ever. I will never forget you trying to pronounce Kasper Shabilko. Like that was rough.
I'll never try that again. Let's talk about Timo, man. What's going on in Minnesota?
So, like we teased at the beginning of this podcast, Minnesota's bringing in a really good striker, a really good number 9.
Yeah,
right. A Premier League proven. High level here. And he is going to complement Reynoso because he is going to be a pure number 9, just taking whatever ball Reynoso gives him, getting a good touch in and finishing it, right? Like, this is a partnership made in heaven, those two men together on the same field. The thing here is Minnesota has spent a lot of money in past on designated player number 9s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have all failed. They have never, though, brought in a proven number 9, someone who has played at a higher level and gotten production, right? All the players they've brought in have been guys who are like, well, in this obscure way, he did that, and we think it translates here, right? Timo Pukki has had production in the English Premier League, arguably the best league in the world, right? In his 2 seasons that he played in the Premier League, he scored 22 goals and got 6 assists in 2 seasons. And oddly enough, both of those seasons were 11 goals, 3 assists. Like mirror, like identical images of each other. It wasn't like he went off in one season with bad in the other. He replicated it in back-to-back seasons. Exactly 11 goals, 3 assists, right?
Consistency.
Yeah, so that's great. And then you're like, okay, well, Premier League, that's a really high level. How does he look at a level closer to MLS, right? He played for Norwich, the same team that he played in the Premier League. He played a lot in the Championship, which is 2nd Division England. And he played 125 games. In those 125 games, he scored 65 goals. Wow. That's roughly a goal every other game.
Yeah.
Right? A little over.
Yeah.
That is very good. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we think of some of our best players in MLS,
that is a scoring machine.
Go over to the Championship and they do pretty well usually, right? So if you can play very well in the Championship, you will be very good in MLS, right? And he was averaging a goal every 2 games. He's going to be fine in MLS.
Yeah.
I don't care what team you put him on, he would be successful.
He will.
Right?
He will. And now you're putting...
And now he has Reynoso. Man,
that's gonna be something. We might be into Minnesota, man.
And this is a team that has a really good defense. This isn't just bringing in 2 offensive players in Reynoso and Timo, and having a horrible backline that's going to ship goals left, right, and center. This is a really organized team, a really hard to beat team, and now you've just added 2 massive attacking threats.
Yeah,
this is going to be incredible. Like,
it's going to be
honestly, Leagues Cup, they could win it. They could lift a trophy at the end of this year. I would not be surprised if Minnesota at the end of this year win a trophy. I don't know what trophy, but a trophy, I could see them winning.
I think Reynoso is just going to it's going to become a loved one again in Minnesota because it's going to be like
he ever wasn't. I think even him leaving, people were just the fans still loved him.
Frustrated. They were just a bit frustrated, but now that they got him back, they'll be all right.
Yeah, I don't think they actually had any animosity towards him. I think a lot of that animosity was placed on the manager. I really don't think people ever had any ill will towards Reynoso. And you saw that when he came in, there were signs for him. His teammates were linking up with him, dapping him up. Like it looked like he's been there for a whole preseason, right? Like I've never seen a player on such bad terms with the club where he literally refuses to come for the first half of the season and then comes in and just everything around it situationally looks like nothing happened.
Yeah, and everybody loves it.
So weird.
And he's balling at such a quality. So, yeah.
It's so weird. I don't know. I've never met the man, but he just must be one of those people that's impossible to hate. Like I can't imagine the situation they were in and how quickly and seamlessly they have just turned it around, and now everything's all good in Minnesota.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's can argue with that, can't fight that, but I'm gonna use this time to stop us here for our second part.
Actually, I wanted to say one really quick thing. I didn't put this in. I didn't put this in because I wasn't going to say it because I couldn't fact check it.
Right.
But like a couple years ago, I read this thing, or I heard this thing on a different podcast somewhere. I don't know how I got this information, but in Finland, apparently where Teemu Pukki is from, Teemu is a very common name, and they have like this award every year for Teemu of the Year. And almost every year for like the past decade, Teemu Pukki has won Teemu of the Year, just like the best Teemu in Finland.
All the goals that keep scoring.
Now I Googled that and tried to Google it like 20 different ways and using different words. I could not find anything to back that up, but I heard it, so I believe it. So
I think
I'm just going to throw that out there. Teemu of the Year.
Teemu of the Year. All right. Let's see if he gets it when he comes in here, guys. All right. Well,
now you can end it.
Now I can end it. All right. That was a fun fact. We should have a fun fact segment.
It was a fun questionable fact. I don't know if we can call it a fact.
I
couldn't find it anywhere on the internet.
A fun alleged fact.
I just heard some guy say it somewhere, and to me, that means it's true.
Allegedly, there's a Pukki of the Year, but hey, I'm a Teemu. Yeah, not Pukki. But hey, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just excited I said the last name right. But I'm gonna stop us here. We're gonna stop for our second part, and then we'll be back for our third and final part.
It's the football
for third and final part of the show. This was a good show, man.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. All right, cool. So third part, we're going to talk about our favorite league. I think we talk about this league all the time. The Concacaf. Tournament. It's tournament. It's not a league. You right? Concacaf Gold Cup. I didn't make
there goes the show.
And that was bad. All right, keep going. Talk to me about the Concacaf, coach.
All right, so Concacaf Gold Cup is in full swing. The group stages are ending. It is a 16-team tournament, 4 teams in 4 different groups. USA was in a tough group with Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, and then a pretty easy team in St. Kitts. And that just finished today with USA and Jamaica being tied on points. So they both had 2 wins and 1 draw, so they drew each other. But USA ended with a positive 12 goal differential, where Jamaica ended with an 8. Right? Jesus Ferreira in those 2 games became the first American to ever score hat tricks in back-to-back games. Again, they were against Trinidad and Tobago and St. Kitts, so not the highest competition. He also has something like 20 goals now.
That trick is
in like 11 games, and they're all against like St. Kitts, Trinidad, and it's not the toughest competition. But so that does mean USA tops their group. Jamaica's in second. Then in Group B, Mexico ended up pulling out a result against Qatar today. At one point, they were behind, but Mexico topped their group over Qatar. And then there's still Group C and D finish up tomorrow, I believe, or maybe 2 days from now. But so they finish up, and that is who we'll end up seeing play against the USA. Right now, the winner or the second place of Group D plays USA in the next round, the knockout round of this tournament. There's a very good chance that ends up being Canada. They have had an abysmal start to this tournament, but they play Cuba. If they get a win against Cuba and Guadeloupe and Guatemala get a tie, there's a very good chance that Canada ends up taking that second place spot, right?
Yeah. Do you want them
So
to?
there's a very good chance that we will be at that game, you and me. We got tickets for that. So there's a good chance that we will see Canada versus USA, and then Jamaica versus either Guadeloupe or Guatemala, depending on who finishes first in that league, or of those two in that table. So that game, Canada-USA, massive. It also means that USA and Mexico are on opposite sides of the bracket, so they will not face each other unless it's in a final. Odds are it's either going to be Jamaica or Mexico that end up in the final from that side of the bracket. And it's probably going to be USA that makes the final on our side of the bracket. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I'm really excited to go see a USA-Canada match live in person next weekend.
That would be amazing.
And we're also going to see the Jamaica in whoever they play. So Jamaica probably has the best star talent in this tournament. Again, USA didn't bring a full team, so like of our starters. So to see some of these guys that play in England, like Damari Gray for Jamaica, it's going to be really fun. Their attack is incredible in Jamaica, so it's going to be really good television.
Yeah.
For those of you watching at home.
When is the game that we're going to?
It's going to be this coming weekend, so a week from now.
Oh, okay. That's dope. All right. Awesome.
Yeah, that's a quick wrap up.
I forgot.
And so let me ask you a quick question here.
What's up?
As we try to wrap up here. It's either going to be Jamaica or Mexico, most likely in the final.
Mm-hmm.
Which of those two do you think plays USA?
I want Mexico.
You think it's going to be a Mexico-USA final?
I want Mexico because I'm thinking if we get USA-Canada and we get USA-Mexico.
And we've already had USA-Jamaica in group stages.
I'm just saying, like you can't talk to us anymore. We just win.
Like, and we did it with the B team.
Yeah, and you can't even don't even address us. Like, what are you talking to us? Like, it's over. We the bet. Like, we win the war of borderlines. Like, we win. It's over.
Yeah, no, I'm here for it. I don't think it will be Mexico. I think it will be Jamaica.
Yeah, but I want it to.
Honestly, I think Jamaica might end up winning this tournament over USA.
Yeah. But if you asked me a question, and I was just stating.
No, fair enough.
My perfect.
In a utopia, it would be Mexico in the final.
Yes.
We'll have seen USA play both or all of Jamaica, Canada, and
everybody
Mexico. Right? Like that's a dream. That is a dream. How likely that dream is to happen?
Yeah.
Who knows?
But hey, we never know.
I'm here for it.
Are you hoping for the same thing, or are you more just trying to be logic about it?
No, I'm definitely hoping for a Mexico final with USA. I think that would be dope. I think that would be fun. Again, we just beat them in the semifinals of the Nations League. It would be fun. It would be a great little game there.
All right. So I'm gonna ask you a question because we have a little bit of time here before I close us out. Give me a weird prediction. It could be MLS game next week. It could be with Messi coming. Like a weird, just off the hook prediction that only Coach David can come up with that we can look forward to next week.
Next week only?
Well, it can be next week or anytime in the future.
Canada do not even make it out of their group. They finished third in their group.
And there you have it. Coach David's hot takeaway. That's another segment we should have.
All right.
Awesome. Well, we at the end of our show. We appreciate y'all listening, man. We'll have this out for you as soon as possible. Every Monday in the morning, we available, man. You can listen to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And feel free to reach us out, man. We have our email, prophetspod@gmail.com. Email us. He's lonely out there, man. How many emails we got? Like 10 total?
Man, I wish we had 10. About 90% of our emails are from my mom. So
that is sad.
It's rough. It's
You never said that. All right, awesome.
It's rough.
Hit us up on Twitter, Profits Pod, man. We excited. Please hit us up, man. We need followers. We have a really awesome giveaway coming out pretty soon. Coach David and I are going to figure that out. But hey, stay tuned, especially in the Cincinnati area. Stay tuned, man. Coach, this was a great show. I appreciate you being with me, and on to the next one, my guy.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff.